What's up guys, Belamy Prime here, and today's video is going to be more or less ripped straight from Twitch. After the little bit of controversy that surrounded my tier list video, a lot of people were kind of upset that I shit on their classes and didn't include a lot of classes and things like that. So we took to Twitch and we went over there on stream and I added 31 extra classes to my tier list, totaling a number of 61 classes, and we went over and we ordered them and put them up into the tier list. Again, guys, this is based on my opinions. I don't want you guys to get too upset. It's fair if you have a differing opinion, that's cool, but this is just me having some fun on stream, ranking these classes based on my experience in the game on in Arcade. So, hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'm just gonna let this play. Okay, we got our tier list, boys. Please upload so we can have for later. Well, yeah, I'll upload it, guys. It's gonna be a long fucking video. Okay. So, we don't really need to do an intro, but for the sake of YouTube, we are going to be revisiting our tier list today. We've added 31 more classes to the tier list, so we've doubled it, more than doubled it, the version that we had on YouTube. There was a lot of controversy around the tier list situation because a lot of people were upset that I put their favorite classes in shit ranks, and that's still going to happen today because this is a trigger warning, guys. This is a disclaimer. These are my opinions, and I'll put these where I think they belong. I will try and be a bit more true to the game itself instead of just shitting on classes that I don't like personally. So we'll try and do that. But for the most part, this is my opinions. If you disagree with this, that's cool. Tell me whatever. That's fine. It's okay. I'll leave a link to this tier list. You guys can maybe make your own tier list with all my classes here and show me guys what you think. But this is my opinion, so if you disagree, whatever, but f*** you, and we're gonna get in. Oh no, don't swear, I'm gonna get demonetized on YouTube. I swore again. Oh! I'm gonna have to go bleep those out. This is why we have editing, boys. This is why I'm not a Twitch streamer. I'm not good at streaming. Okay, I'm sorry. We're gonna get in, and the first class that I see in chat is the class that I'm going to start off with in the tier list today. So you got, okay, someone, class in chat, we're going to start with that. Your cam is in the way? Look, my cam is fine, guys. Like, you can't see, like, one class. You can't see, like, two classes. It's fine. We'll fucking move it. Okay, alright, give me a sec. I'll move the fucking camera. Where even is it? I see you guys typing. Wait, what? I'm being trolled by OBS. Here, we'll move the camera over to this side here. Cover Porkaneki. Alright, we're back to this. What was the first one I saw? The first one I saw was Executioner, so that person wins. Hold on, I'll cover all the follows and stuff that happens during this at the end of the stream. Sorry, at the end of the little, we'll call it a segment, right? So, I appreciate the support, all you guys. It means a lot. Everyone, unless you're doing something amazing like donating or subbing, you're not getting acknowledged till the end of this. But thank you ahead of time. I will get you guys at the end of this. And we are starting with, I saw someone say Executioner. Now, straight away, Executioner. This is a very good class. And I am going to put this... It's very easy for me to put this in S. It's either double S or S. I think we're going to go with S tier. And I'm going to tell you why. So, I think Executioner is amazing in 1v1, it's very, very strong, because you have that single target impale, and you just have, it's just a really solid class, combo-wise, and all the damage is there, it's very good. It's also very good in small scale, because you can switch your single target Hell Spear to the regular Hell Spear, and have a nice little AoE Hell Spear combo. You can combo that with a Tiger Strike for an AoE trip, if it hits people that are speared, and it's really solid in small scale PvP. Its downside is that in large scale PvP, yes, you have a bit of CC, which is really good, but you don't have good escapes in the class. The only really solid skill you have that you can use as an escape out of like a huge group situation, like if you get caught out by a group of people, the only thing you have as an escape is behind enemy lines, and that's if that's not on cooldown. Whereas if you're playing like if you're playing like Dark Runner, Blade Dancer, you have like your double time and your teleports and things like that to get out of a bad situation. Executioner has good mobility because you have Shadow Step, But generally, you're using that as a gap closer, and it's a lot more difficult for most players to use as an escape, because you have to target an ally to use it as an escape. I suppose if you're in large scale, you can use a glider as your escape, which is what a lot of people will do anyway, so I guess that kind of covers that weakness. So I guess we can put it in double S tier. Yeah, look, the main weakness of Executioner is its lack of an escape, and if you're... The main reason that's... the main situation where that's useful is in large scale, and you can use gliders to get out in bad situations. So, yeah, I guess we can put it double S. Where did I put it in my other video? Did I put it S or double S? We're putting in double S. I really like Executioner. I think it's a very solid class, and it's also a very easy class to play. So we'll put it in double S for today. Fuck it. I still personally prefer Dark Runner over it, but we'll put it in double S. Fuck it. Alright. Why is Belamy upside down? That's not a good joke. Okay. We have a lot of blue here, so maybe we'll go with a mage class. We're gonna go with fuck, what do we go? We'll go with Blightcaster. What was Blightcaster again? It's Malediction, Oromancy Defense. Is that right? I'm not putting this here. Let me just double check this real quick. It is Malediction. Chat can probably tell me. You guys can help out, right? I just want to double check. No, that's Emissary. No, this is Blightcaster, I think. No, that's fucking... What the fuck is this again? Sorcery, Malediction, Witchcraft, I think? Oh, you're right. No, you're right. There's literally so many classes here that I went through, I'm fucking forgetting. You're right. It's Sorcery, Malediction, and Witchcraft. Okay, so this is basically Fanatic, but instead of Shadowplay, we get Witchcraft. Now, Witchcraft is okay. Like, in this setup, it gives us a little bit of CC, which is nice. But the main reason why Sorcery is good on... the main reason why Shadowplay is good on Fanatic is because you get the attack speed passives, and you get things like Stealth, your Backdrop, which works really nicely with your Fireballs. So you are missing out on those kind of interactions. So things like your Crushing Waves and your Fireballs aren't going to be as fast as a Blightcaster. But you get Mirror Warp, which is a very, very good mobility skill. You can use it as an escape, a chase, whatever you want to use it as. It's very good, especially the Flame version. Mirror Warp is just a great skill on its own. And then you have a lot of good AoE. The heavier you spec into Witchcraft, the more suitable this class is for, like, group PvP. This class, you could get away with... You could do some stuff with this class in 1 vs 1. I think this would be quite good in 1 vs 1, because you have your good amount of CC from Witchcraft to set up things like your pillars and your big sword falls and things like that. But with Defiance in the mix, Witchcraft is less powerful in 1 vs 1 situations because of this. Because Defiance just lets you cleanse basically any CC in the game for free once every 30 minutes, but it resets on death, right? So you can't really full combo someone with Witchcraft and then set up like a huge blade fall. You can, open with a Fear or something like that, and then use that to transition into your pillar, and then drop blade falls on them and things like that. So I would play this in 1 vs 1. I reckon I could have some fun with this class in 1 vs 1 as a mage. And if you guys are interested, when Arcade Unchained comes around, I will play this in 1 vs 1. I'll show you guys that you can play this in 1 vs 1. I don't think it'll be as good as some other classes, but you could get some wins under your belt with this class, no problem, especially if you get good with the class. And Witchcraft is never bad in small scale. It's never bad in large scale. I think this is a pretty solid class all around. Like, honestly, I don't know if I'd put it in S or double S, because you're missing a lot of attack speed, but it's either S or A rank. I think it's a hard choice, honestly. If I could put them between S and A, I would do that. I think A. I think I'm going to go with A rank. I think Blightcaster is very solid. You could, it's not a shit class in 1s. It's not a shit class in a small scale. And it wouldn't be... Actually, it'd be quite good in large scale, because you have a lot of CC that you can put down, and you can just sit back and throw out a bunch of damage with your 2 main skill trees. So I think for that, we'll chuck it in S rank. You're lacking a little bit of you're lacking a little bit. You're not getting, like, Songcraft passives and things like that to boost your damage. So maybe not as good. It's not as good as, like, Spectre or Spiritualist or something like that. But you do have CC, so I think we're gonna put it in A. Do you guys agree with that? Do you think A? A is a good spot for that? I think A. A is good, right? It's a good class. It's like A is not a bad class. A is still a really good class. I think A, like anywhere B and up is like a good ranking for a class. Like that's like really playable in my opinion. Alright, we're going to leave it at A. You guys seem to agree. That's good. Let's throw in a healer. Alright, we talked about this. We talked about Hierophant on stream. In my video. I think Hierophant is a really, really good class. It's really solid in 1v1 if for some reason you want to do that as a healer. Or if you're just in the open world and you're alone and you're getting attacked, Hierophant is a very good class to defend yourself with. It's very good in small scale. It's very good in large scale. I think it's just a solid all-round class. You don't have Songcraft, so you can't bard. So preferably, if you're playing Hierophant, you want to hope that someone else is barding for the group. But if not, Hierophant is a very solid pick and my personal favorite healing class. So there's that. Okay, we've done a healer, we've done a melee, we've done a mage. Let's throw in a tank. Again, another one we did in the video that I shouldn't have to talk too much about, Nightcloak. I think Nightcloak is just an amazingly good raid breaker class. It's the best tank class in the game in my opinion. Early on, Skull Knight would probably beat it out because the defense tree is quite strong early on in the game before people get gear. But once you get people, start to get players in like Hiram tier 3 plus plate, they've sorted out their magic defense. They got a nice magic shield, ton of stamina. They're sitting on like 40k or more HP. Anywhere between that, you know, end game, realistically, you can easily get up to 60, 70k HP as a Nightcloak, be completely unkillable, and have a ton of CC and be very, very, very useful in raids. And that's why this is so good. And not only that, it's very good in small scale. So like 5v5, 10v10 arena, a Nightcloak is always good. Like, you're never going to be upset to have 1 or 2 raid breakers on your team in that kind of scenario. So it's just like controlling the enemies, like it's just really good. So Nightcloak, solid. Same thing with Skull Knight. Skull Knight is very similar to Nightcloak. It's just occultism, defense, and Oromancy. You have your Oromancy to clump people up, same as Nightcloak. You have your occultism to lock them down. And then you have your defense to make yourself a bit tankier. You have things like refreshment to give yourself more HP, which is really good, especially if you're stacking stamina. And then you have some things from defense like Imprison and Invulnerability, different annoying skills in that tree that are really helpful in raids as well. So Skull Knight, I think early on in the game, like the first like couple months, like month or two at the max, Skull Knight is probably S tier, triple S or double S, sorry. And then I think it falls off and at Nightcloak is a bit better. But in saying that, it is always good to have a mixture of both because defense is quite good in large scale raids on a Skull Knight because you can use like the wall Imprison to block off choke points and things like that, and you can split raids up a lot, like really quite well with that. So solid class there. Let's do an archer. Ebonsong, again, the best archer class right now, the most damage, ton of mobility, pretty self-explanatory. If you want me to talk about more about that, look at my other video. It's very good. Primeval, we talked about this on my other video as well. I'm putting it in S rank again. It's solid damage. It's a bit more defense than Ebonsong. You don't have the Songcraft buffs for your damage and stuff like that. But it's a very solid class. You have lots of mobility, and you have your thwart and things like that, which is very nice if a Dark Runner happens to catch you. So solid class, good if you're a little less confident in getting away from Dark Runners. Now, I'm putting Primeval in A. No, look, we're putting it in A. I don't think it's close to Ebonsong. I think it's really good class. I think it's solid class, but I don't think it deserves an S. Now we're going to talk about, while we're on the topic of archers, we're going to talk about Shade Hunter and Trickster. Now these two are basically the same class, not the same class. A similar playstyle. You have archery, shadow play, and then you have either witchcraft or occultism. Occultism for Shade Hunter, witchcraft for Trickster, right? Very solid classes in 1v1. You have a lot of CC to peel for yourself, and it's very, very good. I think Shade Hunter is a little bit better than Trickster, just because the occultism skill tree, you can do some really nutty stuff with like your single target impales, and then using the cursed seeds, bone cages, and then sniping people through the bone cage, different stuff like that. Shade Hunter is just really good in 1v1 specifically, and it would have its applications in small scale as well. So Shade Hunter is very good. Trickster is also very competitive. I think it's a good class, but I don't think it's as good as Shade Hunter, so we're going to put it in A rank alongside Primeval. Now, we talked about these in my video, but we're going to talk about them again. Ragebinder and Ghostblade, both meme classes that I enjoy playing. You guys saw them in the intro to the stream. They are battle rage classes that incorporate malediction, so that you can fuck around with like group teleports and the armor shred and things like that. Not good classes by any means. They're alright in like small scale and large scale if you want to fuck around with the group teleport. But in general, they're just very underwhelming classes. Especially, like, do not take these into 1v1. I like, for my Ghostblade video, I went into 1v1 for like an hour, and I was versing like decent players, and for the life of me, I just could not beat them as a fucking Ghostblade because it just sucks in 1v1, like straight up. It's not good. And I had to get like, I had to wait until I got some slow ass melee so that I could montage him as a Ghostblade, just so I had one 1v1 clip for the PvP video. So, not good in 1v1. It's really shitty in 1v1, but if you want to have some fun in group PvP and like arena and shit, Ghostblade and Ragebinder are pretty fun classes, so give them a go. Let's throw another healer in. Athame, whatever you want to call it. Solid class, very similar to Hierophant, similar gameplay, but instead of Oromancy, you take Songcraft so you can Bard as well. Get a couple extra heals. Pretty good class. I'd say this is pretty gear reliant to play because without something like Oromancy or defense early on to make you a bit harder to kill, you will be very squishy to melee. So scary class to play, but very good and very viable in the end game. Same goes for Sorrow Song. Basically the same class, but instead of witchcraft, you have you have occultism. So this gives you the occultism combo, so you're able to mend spam and things like that. Very solid class. You got the songs, you got the vitalism, bit of occultism to peel for yourself. Solid class in my opinion. I'll leave them in S. Actually, what else do we have to talk about today? Honestly, I'm going to put these down into A tier. That doesn't mean they're bad classes. They're both very solid classes. I just think that there are classes that they're not as good as Hierophant and other classes that I'll be putting in S tier, and they're not as good as some other classes that I'll likely put in S and SS. So, okay, let's talk about a shit class. We're talking about Argent. Argent is Battle Rage, Vitalism, and Oromancy. F tier. Straight up, you can have some fun with Argent, but these days, you don't have the option of a short spear with healing power on it to basically give you your healing power and also be able to deal a respectable amount of damage as a melee. You have to basically use a club or a great club or weapon swap. And weapon swapping is crap like, you can do it, but you have to use a club or a great club. And if you're doing that, you're losing a ton of DPS because clubs and great clubs by default have way less damage or like straight out melee damage on them compared to other one-hand and two-hand melee weapons. So you lose a ton of damage, and you're basically splitting up your resources too much. Instead of stacking strength or maybe going heavy strength and a lot of stamina, or a lot of stamina and a bit of strength as a melee, you're having to do a mixture of strength, stamina, and maybe some spirit, and also on your gems and things like that, you're not going to have healing power or healing crit rate. You need to go for, like, you're splitting up your resources and your important stats too much, and it just ends up being weak. That's why hybrid classes in Arcade nowadays they're just not good. Like, because everyone, back in the day when hybrid classes were good, that was when everyone just had fucking focus in their weapons, man. Focus was trash, but it was the best thing that we had, like, available to us. Now, everyone has a fucking million, like, melee DPS, melee critical damage, or defense penetration, or crit heal rate, or crit heal bonus, whatever the fuck it is, all through their gear. And if you're not stacking one or the other to support one of your playstyles, then it's just going to be really fucking weak. Straight up, like, it's just going to suck. So, Argent, it's just not a good class. I'm sorry. You can play it. You'll probably have some fun in 1v1, but if you're like, straight up, if I'm doing 5v5 arena and I queue up and I get a random team of 5 and there's a fucking Argent on my team, I'm just like, why is there an Argent on my team? Like, if you pick a healer class, you better just fucking heal me. But if you pick a healer spec, and you're gonna be running around trying to hit people for fucking 0 damage in 5v5 arena, then, and you're not healing, then fuck you. And if you're, no, it's just, do one or the other. If you want to play a healer, play a healer. If you want to play a melee, play another. Same thing for Paladin. Paladin will be stronger than Argent early on. It will be stronger than Argent early on, in my opinion. It's the same thing. Instead of Auromance, you get defense. You will be quite tanky and hard to kill, and I think early on, before people start to get gems, if you're running like a club and a shield, playing Paladin, you'll probably have some success in 1v1 and like small scale open world. But for the most part, it's pretty shitty, okay? Like, endgame, we're talking like a couple months into Arcade Unchained, people have solid gear, you're starting to do your gems, and you're splitting your fucking resources. Like, no, it's just, play them, you can make them work, but you're not going to be, you know, you're not going to be a god melee, or you're not going to be a god healer. You're just going to be an average version of both. And that's always been the case, but it's just way more so these days. So you guys have questions in chat and things like that. Hold on to your questions. I'm going to get through the rest of this tier list, because we are going to be recording this for YouTube. So I'll get through this, and then we'll get to your questions at the end of the thing, guys. Okay, so let's talk about Bastion. Now, Bastion is basically a tanky archer class. It's not a terrible class. I'm gonna put it in the C tier. I think it's playable. It's probably good in 1v1, especially early on when people don't have a whole lot of damage. But as an archer, unless you're stacking really heavily into defense and like getting a lot of defensive stats, you're either gonna be really tanky, which is good, but you're gonna deal no damage. Like, straight up, people are like on average just way tankier nowadays. So if you're not getting damage stats or enough damage stats, you're not gonna deal enough damage. You can make it work. You won't be as useful in a large scale raid as an Ebon Song, and you won't deal as much damage in a. You're gonna struggle as a Bastion. If you're in a 1v1 like scenario, you're gonna lose to a proper archer in 1v1. You're going to lose to a proper mage, because you're not going to deal enough damage, and they will delete you. Straight up, they'll do a lot of damage to you, unless, like, they'll kill you. If you're versing a melee, you'll have a solid chance against them, but for the most part, even if they're unable to deal a whole lot of damage to you, and they're unable to trip you because of things like readout and stuff like that, they can still, like, a smart Dark Runner player, for example, will take Leech, and they'll cleanse your readout, or they'll cleanse your Oromancy skills that are making you tankier. A good Spell Singer will do the same thing. If you're playing, you know, you're like, oh, I have Oromancy. If I'm versing a mage, I'll just press Liberation and I'll press Conversion Shield, and they won't be able to deal damage to me. No, they'll run at you and they'll leech. They'll remove 1 to 3 buffs, and chances are they'll hit that buff. And if they do, you're dead, straight up. So, Bastion, it's playable, but it's nowhere near as good as other archer classes. You're just better off. You're better off getting used to and playing. Like, if you're playing with high ping, Bastion, sure, you have the defense to back you up. It's playable. Personally, I don't like the class. I think you're just doing a much better if you're playing like a Trickster or a Shade Hunter. You have your CC and things like that to peel for you, and it's just much better. Blade Dancer. Blade Dancer, straight up, double S. Like, it's just a good class. You tons of damage. Come 6.0, Blade Dancer with a 2-hand weapon is going to be fucking disgusting. You're going to have 30% additional crit damage from your rhythm stacks, and you're going to be getting more crit damage overall because 2-hand gems are getting buffed. Blade Dancer, come 6.0 with a 2-hand weapon on a fucking solid melee player. They're going to be very spooky in raids. You're going to have a fucking shitload of damage. And not only that, Blade Dance is just a solid class, especially in group PvP. It's a bit weaker in 1v1 because you don't have a whole lot of... You don't have CC and things like that from like an Oromancy skill tree or like an Occultism, Witchcraft skill tree in the last tree. But you can win in 1v1 if you're good with your Battle Rage and Shadow Play skill trees. It's like perfectly fine in 1v1. It's not as strong as something like an Executioner or a Dark Runner in 1v1, but it is very good. And if you're a good player, you'll take it very far in 1v1 and in open world. So very good class. Let's see, Reaper. Reaper, I would say we'll put in A tier. I don't think it's quite S. I think Reaper is very strong, especially early on. in 1 vs 1 arena and small scale. You have very solid CC for 1 vs 1, but you just basically CC people, and then you throw some curse seeds on them, put them in a bone cage, throw a fucking a flame wall down, some AoE on the other side of the bone cage, and you just shit on them while you're safe on the other side. So it's a pretty easy playstyle, especially in 1 vs 1, and you can basically be a pseudo raid breaker / damage dealer in small scale stuff like 5v5, 10v10 arena. It's a very solid class for there, so fun to play. I like the class personally. I don't think it's S or double S rank, but A is still a very solid ranking. I think Reaper's really good. Okay, Emissary. Emissary, we're going to throw an A rank as well. It's a very solid class. It is Malediction, Oromancy, and Occultism. Basically, it's another pseudo raid breaker class. You build kind of tanky, kind of damage, and it's very average, I think. Actually, no, look, you could get away with this in 1 vs 1. I think you could have a good time in 1 vs 1 with this, because you just basically play it the way I played Banesong, and that would be perfectly fine. It'd be good in 1 vs 1. It shines mostly in small scale, and it'd be okay in large scale, but mostly small scale, because you can clump people up, CC them down with your occultism, and then drop some sword falls and some nice AoE damage on them with your Malediction skill tree, so that's really good. And then right alongside that, we are going to throw in, where is it? Where the fuck is Revenant? Revenant is basically Emissary. They're the same class, except instead you do the same thing. You build pseudo tanky. You can build full DPS. You build basically, bit of tank, bit of magic attack, like scale your damage, but also get tanky enough so that you can play aggressive. You play in the front line. You use your occultism and your Oromancy to clump people up and lock them down, and then you use your damage skill tree to drop AoE on that clump and blow people up. So it's a very fun playstyle. Very good in like 5v5, 10 vs 10 arena. Solid in open world and playable in 1 vs 1 arena, although I wouldn't say they're the best. Okay, Templar. Templar is a solid class, I think, especially early on in Arcade Unchained when healers are still trying to level out their defenses and they're quite squishy against melees. I think it makes it a better class early on. Late game, as a healer, you really don't need defense to be tanky. Like, honestly, all you need is Oromancy and you're fucking, like, if you're geared enough, you're unkillable against most melees. Like, sure, if you fuck up, they'll kill you. But in a group situation, you're getting people appealing for you, and, if you have, like, Oromancy Vitalism is all you need to be tanky and really hard to kill. You don't need defense late game. That's why I gave Templar a shitty rank in my last video. Yes, you can do good things with it, and yes, it is playable and it's a solid class, but you could be just as tanky as a Hierophant, like more than tanky enough as a Hierophant, and then instead of having a defense skill tree, you have Witchcraft, so you have CC to peel for yourself, and you have CC to play aggressively. It's just a lot better in late game. But we'll leave it in B, because it is quite strong early on. I think early days, it's like S rank, but it falls off the later, like, and the better people get, and the more geared people become, the less Templars we'll see. So we'll chuck that there. Cleric, I don't think I need to say too much about Cleric. I don't think it's nah, you know what? Cleric is double S. It's always been double S. Cleric is just a solid class. You don't want to have like all clerics in your raids and things like that, but Cleric is just a great class. It's S or double S. I feel like I'm doing it in injustice not giving it double S, because it's just always been, and always probably will be, just a solid class. You have great heals, you're tanky because of Oromancy, and you have great barding abilities as well. So if you're a good cleric, makes Cleric double S. A bad cleric makes it S. So we'll put it in double S. I think it deserves that much. But that's all we say about that. Soothsayer. Now, Soothsayer is very good in 1 vs 1 if you're playing healer and you want a 1 vs 1. It is, for those of you who don't know, it's Vitalism, Oromancy, and Shadowplay. It's very good in 1 vs 1, and then it's okay in small scale, it's okay in large scale, but where Soothsayer shines, and the reason why we're putting this in S rank, or potentially double S rank, is because it is so fucking good in the water. Water PvP, naval PvP, Soothsayer is one of the best specs, and it's not only because you can, put out some solid heals, because you have things like, you have like Free Runner, so you can fucking use your Antithesis without it going on cooldown. You have backdrop so that you can instant cast it. You have all sorts of stuff like that. So you have amazing healing output. You also have Auramancy, which is great for being a bit tankier, and you can use it as a nice escape. You also have Stealth, so you can drop combat in a PvP situation and res fallen enemies. That's what makes this class so good. So in water PvP, when the fight is 3-dimensional, so everyone's spread out in a weird kind of 3-dimensional space underwater, Soothsayer is really good because you can cruise around in stealth. If an ally goes down and dies, you can get yourself out of combat very easily and res them and get them back into the fight. Soothsayer is so fucking amazingly good in water PvP. You can do the same thing in land PvP. You can still stealth res, but it's a lot easier to do in the water and people get away with it a lot easier. In live servers right now, water PvP, like, the team that wins in water PvP is generally the team that has better Soothsayers or more Soothsayers. And if you're controlling the enemy Soothsayers and putting them in combat as soon as they pop out and try to res, that is like, it's so incredibly important in water PvP. And yeah, someone just said in chat, water PvP is most of endgame fighting. Yeah, you'll be fighting around Kraken and you'll be fighting around DGSs a lot. And if you're fighting in the water for some reason you're doing like big PvP in the water over packs and things like that, Soothsayers are just so incredibly good. I cannot stress that enough. And the same goes for Confessor. Confessor, you can do basically the same thing, except instead of Auramancy, you have Songcraft, so you're a little less tanky, but you can Bard and do things like that as well. So that's something to look out for. One thing I will say, for those of you guys who are thinking about playing like a Soothsayer or Confessor, there is a small thing that you guys need to consider, and I probably shouldn't be talking about this on this video because it's a really niche thing that probably not many people really care about. But if you're planning on playing a stealth res class, if you're tearing up your costume, like your basic costume, your healer basic costume, you can put Lunafrosts on them. The Lunafrosts give you good stats like decreased received damage, increased fizz damage, fizz defense and things like that, and they stack, and they give you a buff. There is an interaction, as far as I'm aware, it's still a thing, and it's very frustrating for healers. But if you have these buffs, so if you have the Lunafrost on your costume, and you've been in combat, and these buffs are ticking, and you stealth, you won't go out of combat for quite a while, because these buffs need to fall off first. There's some weird interaction where these buffs themselves will keep you in combat. You'll have to talk to, like, I'll try, if you guys are really curious about that, and you want to confirm that for sure, if you're thinking about playing Confessor or Soothsayer, then I'll confirm that with some healers on live right now to make sure that that's actually still a thing. But I thought I should point that out because it will affect your gameplay if you're planning on being a stealth reser. Okay, now Assassin. Assassin is, what is Assassin again? Assassin is it's Vitalism, Witchcraft, and Shadowplay, right? I'm just double checking just in case I get this wrong. Come on, pop up, please. Assassin, yeah, okay. So Assassin goes alongside this Soothsayer and Confessor. I don't think it's as good as Soothsayer and Confessor because although Witchcraft is really good, it's better suited to the land. Personally, I think that, like, it comes down to personal preference. I think Assassin is not as good for, like, stealth resing and things like that in water PvP, but it's quite good on the land. I think it's a solid class. I think it deserves an A tier at least. I think giving it a B tier would be a bit of an injustice. I think Assassin, if you're not planning on stealth resing, it's really, really good because, you know, you have all of the stuff from Shadowplay that pumps up your healing, and then you have Witchcraft, which is good for healing for yourself. So really solid class. I think Assassin's a good class, but I don't think it deserves S or SS rank. Belamy Prime, can you trash talk Abolisher? I needed to piss my friend off. Absolutely, we're getting to it. Don't worry, friend. Fnatic, I don't think I need, like, you guys know about Fnatic. Fnatic is SS rank, hands down. It's good in 1 vs 1, good in small scale, good in large scale. There are certain classes that beat it out in little situations, but it's just a solid all-round class. It's very, very good. I don't think I need to say too much about Fnatic. It's a solid class, and you guys will be seeing me play it on Arcade Unchained, mixed in with some Spellsinger and some Banesong and some juice like that. Speaking of Banesong, or should I say Bonesong, My personal favorite class to play is a mage. It's very fun, very OP, especially in 1v1. It's okay in group PvP, kind of trash in large scale. We're going to give it a B for Belamy Prime. It's a bit of a meme, not the greatest class, but very fun to play. Same goes for Saboteur. Basically the same class and the same playstyle. Fun to play, very strong in 1v1, very, very strong in 1v1, but kind of average in small scale compared to other mage classes, and very average in large scale compared to other classes. So we'll put them in B tier. They're fun to play. I highly suggest trying them out, but they're not the greatest class in the world. Okay, what else have we got? Blighter. Now, people were very upset with the treatment I gave Blighter and Abolisher in my other video. The reason why I give these a bad rep is because come late game, they're just crap. Like, straight up, yes, you can do things with these classes. Yes, you can make them work and you can have fun with them if you like the class. But there's nothing that a Blighter can do that something like a Dark Runner can't do better. Yes, there are some small things you can do in a group situation that might be useful, but anything the melee side of Blighter can do, a Dark Runner does better. Anything the defense side of Blighter does, a Skull Knight does 1,000 times better. So having a Skull Knight and a Dark Runner is better than having a fucking Blighter trying to do a bit of both, alright? So that's why Blighter I give a bad rap. I think it's very good in 1v1, especially early, because, you know, defense is going to be very powerful early on in early game. I can't argue with that. I think it's going to be good in 1v1 early on. It'll be good in 1v1 later on too, but a mage is going to run circles around you, an archer is going to run circles around you, and a good melee will still kill you even with defense. They'll leech off your readout, they'll get rid of that shit, they'll get rid of your buffs, and they're going to be way faster than you, so they're going to, you know, if you're using a shield especially, they're going to be much faster than you. They're going to jump on you, they're going to one combo you, and they're going to run away, wait for their cooldowns, they're going to come back, and they're going to combo you again, and you're going to die. Unless you're a really high-end Blighter, and you're really good at the class, you can't make 100%, you just can't make it work. Honestly, if I'm in, like, 1v1 arena, gladiators, sparring is a different story. If we're in 1v1 arena in Glads on live right now, and I get a Blighter, it's like, okay, I win. Straight up, like, it doesn't matter what they do. I can just beat them. Like, unless they're in plate and they're fucking unkillable, then I just beat them. And if they're in plate and they're unkillable, then they do no damage themselves, and they're useless outside of 1v1 against a melee, because they can't kill anyone. So, if I get a Blighter, I can just jump on them, get rid of their readout, or just wait out their readout, bait out their readout, kite, run away from them, and then, you know, their readout's gone, I go in, do some damage, even if I don't kill them in a full combo, I run away, wait for my cooldowns to come up, because you're a slow piece of shit Blighter, and then I go back in and I kill you. So unless you're a really good Blighter, and granted, a good Blighter will be able to kill a melee, like, straight up, it's not 100% you will lose every single time. It's, yes, you can make things happen with a Blighter. But when it comes to late game, when people have gear and you're doing anything other than 1v1 arena, it's just crap. And the same goes for Abolisher. Anything Abolisher can do, a Skull Knight does 100 times better. Yes, I know people have arguments for why they like it. It's just, they're good, and they will be good early on, but like I said, anything these classes can do, other classes do better, and any high-end guild in Arcade would prefer to not have Abolishers and Blighters in their raid, okay? Like, straight up. You can play them, you'll have fun with them, you'll be tanky as shit, you'll be unkillable, and you'll be a pest, and you can cause problems. You can make a difference in a small scale, you can be useful in a 1v1. You can make them work, and I'm not going to stop you guys from playing them. They're fine classes. I just don't think they're anywhere near as competitive as anything on the top half of this board. Now we're going to talk about Stone Arrow. I'm going to put Stone Arrow alongside Bastion. Again, defense will be quite strong early on. I don't think... it depends on how you build. Stone Arrow is just nowhere near as good as things like Ebon Song and Shade Hunter in any situation. Stone Arrow, yes, it's good early on in 1v1 against melees and things like that, because you can just stand in their face and shoot them with endless arrows, and they can't do anything about it, but it's whatever. I think Stone Arrow falls off late game, very strong early game, but listen, it pains me to give Stone Arrow like an average, rating. Honestly, Bastion down here as well. It pains me to give Stone Arrow like a shitty rating. It was one of my very first classes to play in Arcage. I like Stone Arrow. I think it's a great class, but it's just late game when people have gear and you're just going to be less impactful as a Stone Arrow compared to like a Primeval or an Ebonsong. And yes, you'll be hard to kill, and if it has its applications. Everything on this list, everything that is here, I want to stress this to you guys. Everything that is on this list, if it's on this list, it means it's a playable class. You can play it, you can make it work, and you can be somewhat competitive. If it's lower on the thing, it just means that I think there's a better class for every situation. And, like, for example, an Ebonsong is just straight up better than a Stone Arrow and a Bastion in every single way possible. Yes, if you get caught, you're going to die, whereas if you're playing a Stone Arrow or a Bastion, you probably survive, but you'll do way more damage, which means you're way more useful in a raid. You do way more damage, and you're extremely mobile, so you're better in 1v1. It's just better, but it doesn't mean Stone Arrow and Bastion or Blighter and Abolisher are useless. They're playable, they're decent classes. I personally don't like them anymore in the current meta, because they're just not that strong compared to other classes, in my opinion. This is my opinion, guys. Okay, my opinion. They're playable classes. You can have fun with them, and you can even play Blighter with a two-hander or a dual wield, and you can have some fun with it. I've played it as a two-hand user or a dual wield user. It's really funny because you can have life readout and things like that now. You can't use refreshment and stuff like that, but you can have fun with it. It's like Ragebinder and Ghostblade. Honestly, like, fucking put these down here with them as well. They're like just average classes, but they're fun to play. I love Ghostblade and Ragebinder. I think they're hilarious to play, but they're crap. It's it's the same deal here, okay, guys? I understand if you guys are like, I understand you guys hate that I'm putting Abolisher and Blighter really low on the list, but they're playable classes. You can get away with playing them, but like I said, they're not going to be as impactful as some of these other higher tier classes, okay? Straight up. And I know some of you guys might think, oh, but in Korea, there's this really high gear score person that plays Blighter and Abolisher. It must be good. Listen, if you're looking at gear score, that doesn't mean that that's a good player. That just means in Korea, that's just a pay-to-win player. It's someone who's paid a lot of money to be really fucking tanky or really geared so that they can play their shitty class and get away with it. If you want to look at, like, high-quality players, you're not looking at gear score charts. Gear score does not indicate a high-quality player. It can cross over. You can have a high gear score player that's really good. But a lot of the times, that's not the case. High gear score players are generally worse in pay-to-win games. They're generally worse. So I know you guys look at things like Korea and you think, oh, this class is good. Lots of people play it in Korea. That's not necessarily the case. And also, Korea is just a different meta to the West. It always has been. They've always had different meta. They have different, they have some similarities, like their double S tier classes are generally very similar to ours because they're very good. But, their meta is just a lot different. People build differently over there. In general, a lot of them are a lot tankier. They play a lot more defensively. So, they get away with playing different classes. In the West, it's generally a lot different. And Arcade Unchained is going to be different again. So, I'm basing all my opinions here off of the live NA server right now that I play on, and my experience over the past however long on Arcade. It may be completely different come Arcade Unchained. If, somehow the meta shifts because it's not pay to win, that'll be cool. Maybe it'll make these classes a lot more viable. But based on my opinion right now, the way things stand, this is where I'm putting these classes. If you disagree, that's fine, but don't give me a hard time about it, okay, guys? These are my opinions. Alright. Moving on from the sensitive subjects, we are going to talk about Edgewalker. Edgewalker is a great class. I think it is S or double S rank. It is very solid. It is Vitalism, Oromancy, and Occultism. You have, honestly, like, straight up, it's a very good class in a lot of situations. Like, it's either S or double S. I want to put it I want to put it in double S because you're extremely tanky. It's quite good like Hierophant in a lot of like situations. I think it deserves double S. Look, it's not as good in 1 vs 1 though. Hierophant's much better in 1 vs 1. And I know we're talking about heal, it's just like, who gives a fuck if it's good in 1 vs 1, but I think that's the difference between Hierophant and Edgewalker. Hierophant's better in 1 vs 1. I appreciate all the follows, guys. I'll catch all of them at the end of this segment. But we're just going to keep powering through this because I feel like we're not even halfway yet. Jesus Christ. We've got a lot of mages to cover. So we got Spectre. Spectre, where is Spiritualist? Spiritualist straight up here. These are our classics: Sorcery, Malediction, and then we have Songcraft and Oromancy. Both very great classes. They're very weak in 1 vs 1, in my opinion. That's why we put them in S instead of double S. But come group PvP and large scale PvP, they are very, very, very good. You have a ton of AoE damage. You have Songcraft, which is boosting your damage, or Oromancy, which allows you to clump people up into your damage and things like that. Very solid classes, especially in large scale lane PvP. Okay, Dagger Spell. Now, Dagger Spell, I'm going to put in B tier, and I know a lot of people are going to be upset about this because, you know, it's a fan favorite. Everyone loves their Dagger Spell. Forgive me, trying to get comfy here. Everyone loves their Dagger Spell. It used to be one of the most fun classes to play, but straight up, the introduction of the Defiance skill, which gives you a free removal of basically any CC in the game, makes Dagger Spell quite weak in 1 vs 1 because you can't play it the way you used to. You can't, like, fucking Focal, then Fear, then Sleep someone, throw a Fireball at them, bubble them, fucking Arc Lightning them, and then drop them on there, and then Fear them and fucking drop them, and then Sleep them and put a Meteor on them, and whatever the fuck. You can't do that anymore because they'll just wait for you to, they'll just bait out as many CC skills as they want, and then they'll just Defiance and get out after all your shit's on cooldown, and then they just kill you. Like, it's probably, it's decent in small scale, because yes, you have Shadow Play and Songcraft. Shadow Play and Sorcery, very good in any situation, and throw in a bit of CC, sure. It's going to be good in, like, 5v5, 10v10 arena. I don't think it's going to be very good in large scale or 1 vs 1. You can play it, you can get away with it, you could probably make it work, but nowhere near as good as what it used to be in the old meta back in, like, 2014, 2015. And that's mainly just because of the introduction of Defiance. Otherwise, it would be a good class. So, I'm going to put that there. Now, another thing that people were asking me about. Enigmatist. Enigmatist is a fan favorite with all of you guys and myself. Enigmatist is a great... used to be such an amazingly fun class to play. And here's what we're going to do. I think, as of right now, in the meta, it belongs in B tier. It's a very below average class. You can't do a lot with it. And the main reason that is because they nerfed the ability to animation cancel. So you can't animation cancel with God's Whip right now anymore. And you can't, like, throw down fucking Vicious Implosions and fucking Freezing Earths, like, during your God's Whip and do a ton of AoE damage, clump people up and shit on people, right? And also they removed Teleport Reset a little while ago, which made it a bit weaker. They also nerfed Thwart, so Thwart doesn't give attack speed anymore, meaning that it's not as good for your global cooldowns. So Enigmatist took a bit of a dive. However, we have Teleport Reset again now. It's not as good as the original one, but we still have Teleport Reset. We also, come 6.0, are hopefully going to be able to animation cancel with our God's Whip again. This is because we're getting a ancestral version of God's Whip that hopefully is going to allow us to animation cancel. I have not been able to confirm this in any way. I fucking hope that it's true because I want to be able to animation cancel with God's Whip again so badly. But this is kind of, you know, it's kind of up in the air right now. We're not sure if Enigmatist is going to be good. If these changes are true, Enigmatist might be really fun to play again, and it might jump up a couple ranks to say A. But in the current meta, if nothing changes, Enigmatist is a very below average class. You can have fun with it and you can play it, but it's nowhere near as great as it used to be because of animation cancelling basically not being a thing, Teleport Reset not being as good, and Thwart not giving you attack speed, which made Enigmatist really good because attack speed is just great for your magic DPS output because attack speed scales your global cooldown really nicely. Zealot, I think I'm going to put Zealot... Where do I put Zealot? It's either B or A. It's not as good as Spectre or Spiritualist. It has its applications. It's pretty good in 1 vs 1. You know what? I think maybe it's definitely A. I don't think it's B. Yeah, it's good. You know, it's not as good as Spiritualist and Spectre in open world. But you do have CC, like, from your occultism skill tree, so it is solid in that regard. But it is better in 1v1 than these guys, so I think it kind of balances it out. But overall, I still don't think they're as good as... you know what? I'm going to put it in S class. I may change my mind on that later. It's A or S, somewhere there, guys. So, a good class, solid class. Play around with it. You might have some fun with it. Spellsong. Spellsong used to be really good. I think it's fallen off because... Now, look, Spellsong is still really good. Spellsong is Sorcery, Auramancy, and Songcraft. You know, it's not terrible. Honestly, like, it's a pretty solid class. You get your Auramancy, so you can, you know, you can clump people up for your AoE damage, but you can't animation cancel the same as Enigmatus. So I think it's the same deal. I'm gonna put it in B tier. I think Karma 6.0, if you can animation cancel, it makes Spellsong a lot better. But I think as of right now, I'm going to put it in B tier because although it's a very solid class, especially for open world, like small scale, large scale, I think other classes just do that better right now. But if you can animation cancel come 6.0, I think it would go up to an A. But for now, we're going to leave it in B. Alright, let's talk about Pit Fighter. Now, Pit Fighter is a very solid class. It's a defensive class. If you build this correctly, it can be quite strong in 1v1. It can be okay in large scale because Malediction kind of carries in terms of AoE damage. I think it belongs alongside Banesong because it's not a standout class. It's not amazing, but it's also not bad. It's a pretty solid class, and I think it's got its applications in 1v1. Small scale, it's very good, especially if you build it right with like a Scepter Shield, something like that. Same goes for Swiftstone. I think it's got its applications. I don't think it's as great as, you know, some of these standout classes up here. But if you build it correctly, you can make it work. It can be quite good. So we'll leave that there. Ebon Shield. What the fuck is Ebon Shield again? It's like something defense. Fucking what is Ebon Shield? Guys, help me out. Sorcery, defense, and something, right? What is it? Auramancy? Come on, load. I want to fucking... Did I nail it first go? No, Thaumaturge. What the fuck is Ebon Shield? No, that's Swiftstone. We already chucked that in there. Help a brother out. What is not Ebon Song, Ebon Shield. What is it? It's defense with Malediction. Ah, right, wait. So is it Malediction, Sorcery, Defense? Is that what it is? Ebon Shield. Thank you. Early on, I think this will be quite strong, just because defense is going to be good really early on in Arcade Unchained. I don't think... Yeah, look, I don't know. Like, Sorcery Malediction with defense just seems like... You can get away with it. If you build with, like, a Scepter and a Shield... Sure, you can make this work. I think Auramancy instead of defense will be better once you're a bit tankier. Early on, Ebon Shield has its applications because, you know, defense is quite good early on when people don't have much gear. And if you can just face tank people and throw fucking crushing waves in their face, then sure, you can get away with it. But personally, I don't think Ebon Shield is the greatest class. You can get away with it. It's okay. Has its applications in ones and small scale and stuff like that. Large scale, very underwhelming, not that great, but it's an alright class. I'm not going to shit on it too much. Defiler. Now Defiler is a bit of a meme. It's you know what? Defiler is like, it's okay. Like straight up, like it's not a Nightcloak or a Skull Knight, but it's an okay raid breaker class. Like you don't have as much as a Nightcloak or a Skull Knight has. But it can work, right? If you build kind of like a Revenant or an Emissary, you can make it work. I don't think it's as good as those two. But it's also really good in 1v1, especially in the sparring arena. Defiler is really fucking good in sparring in 1v1. I think B is a fair place to put it. I think, you know, in sparring arena, it's probably like an S. In like 5v5 arena with the balance gear, it's probably like an S. in open world, I think it goes down a little bit of a rank, and open world PvP in 1 vs 1 and things, it goes down a rank. I don't want to put it in A because, you know, there are classes that do things better. But in certain situations, it's potentially S, double S. So like in balanced gear arenas, so 5v5, 10v10, and 1 vs 1 sparring, very solid class. Like you can be very tanky and you can do a lot of damage. But the only reason it's really good in those is because enemy players in general have pretty shit damage as well. So, you know, that's what makes it good in there. So early on, Defiler, I think in Arcade Unchained, outside of sparring arena and things like that, will be very good, because if people don't have a whole lot of damage, you can be very impactful. But we're going to leave it in B rank. I think that's a pretty respectable place to put it. Spellsinger. Now, this Spellsinger is my fucking... Spellsinger is like, just thinking about playing Spellsinger come Arcade Unchained just makes me want to fucking, like, rub my nips. Like, it's such a fucking amazingly fun class, and it's so good. Like, straight up, Spellsinger, I want to put in double S. However, actually, let's think about this. In comparison to Fnatic, Spellsinger is just as good in 1 vs 1. It's just as good in small scale, but I think in large scale, Fnatic beats it out just. However, that's when in saying that, that is when I'm thinking of a Spellsinger as an instant speed Spellsinger, so the kind that I like to play in live right now, and what you'll see on my YouTube videos, in my Spellsinger videos. That's the kind of Spellsinger that I'm comparing right now. If you're playing Spellsinger with a staff and you're playing like cast time, hard cast, sit on a magic circle kind of shit, Spellsinger is like better than Fnatic in large scale, in my opinion, because you can deal crazy amounts of single target damage with things like the flame fireball, while you're standing on a magic circle, your arc lightnings, and especially if you're building with like a library set and you get like defense pen procs and shit like that, you can one-shot people. So I think if you're playing lightning, if you're playing instant speed Spellsinger, it would be S in terms of large scale, but double S in terms of everything else. If you're playing casted Spellsinger, it's double S in terms of large scale and S in terms of everything else. So, look, I'm going to put Spellsinger in double S just because it's a favorite of mine. It's what I'm going to be playing on Arcade Unchained. It's extremely fun. It's extremely strong. And yes, there are, very small situations where maybe having Malediction in the thing is going to be better. But a hard cast Spellsinger is strong in open world. And instant speed Spellsinger is fucking disgusting in 1 vs 1. And just good in small scale. Spellsinger is just a very good class. It deserves double S. And I'm giving it that. Fuck you guys. If anyone disagrees with me, then you guys can suck on a fat one. It's a good class. And it's my personal favorite. So fuck you guys. Demonologist, I think this goes straight alongside Defiler. Very similar playstyles. Same situation. Everything I said about Defiler applies here. Dreambreaker fucking belongs down here in like C class. You can get away with it in 1 vs 1, especially early on. It'll be good in 1 vs 1. Late game, not so much. In small scale, in like 5v5 arena, 10v10, it has its applications, but not the greatest class all round. I think it's good. You can do it. You can manage. Blood Reaver. We haven't talked about a melee class in a bit. Blood Reaver. Blood Reaver is a fucking really good class. It is probably the best melee class if you want to be tanky for large-scale PvP and small-scale PvP. It is Battle Rage, Oromancy, Occultism. Late game, if you want to play any kind of melee class, like if you're here and you're the type that's sitting in the corner pouting right now because I shit on Blighter and Abolisher, do not worry. Blood Reaver is the class that you want to play. It is literally, you get the same as Abolisher or Blighter. You can play it as a tank. You can play it as a pseudo tank with a bit of DPS, like a Blighter. You can play Blood Reaver as a full fucking glass cannon. You do whatever the fuck you want. It's very good in large scale PvP and very solid in small scale. It's okay in 1 vs 1, but I think because of that, we're not going to give it double S. I think it deserves an S, because it's not the greatest in 1 vs 1, but very solid in large scale and small scale PvP. Blood Reaver is a fucking good class. Thank you guys all for the follows. I love you guys. I'll catch all your names at the end of this. We're in the fucking home stretch, boys. We're getting there. Alright. Hexblade, Hexwarden. Which one's fucking... Hold on, which one's which? I don't want to get these confused. We want... the good one is Battle Rage, Occultism, and Oromancy. That's Hexwarden or Hexblade. Which one is that? Come on, pop up. No, not Occultism. Fucking... Not Occultism. I meant to say Witchcraft. It's Battle Rage, Oromancy, Witchcraft. That is Hexwarden. Okay, so Hexwarden is, I think, very similar. I don't think it's as good as Blood Reaver, because your CCs, while they're great in large scale and small scale PvP, they're not as good as Occultism ones. So I think it, although Hexwarden is also very good, goes hand in hand with Blood Reaver, it's not as good in large scale because your fears can be broken by people taking damage. Your bubbles, they're good, but they're not as good as like Hell Spears and Playdeads and things like that. They're still really good, don't get me wrong, this class is really fucking good. But it's not as good as Blood Reaver, in my opinion. But you can play the both of them, you can switch between them, try them, see which one you like better. Hexwarden does give you more mobility, because you have like, the Flame Mirror Warp and things like that, which are really fun to use. Yeah, so Hexwarden, very good, solid, up there with Blood Reaver. I just don't think it's quite as good, so I think we're going to drop it down a rank comparison, so... let's talk about an archer class. We got Ranger. Now, Ranger is probably one of the only hybrid classes that you can get away with nowadays in Arcade. Because, as an archer, you can have a club in your main hand for healing power without it affecting your damage. Because you take a club in your main hand, and then you still just fill it with fucking offensive stats. So you fill it with magic, range critical damage, put fucking defense pen, put agility on it, put fucking crit damage on it in the rolls, and it's really fucking good. It doesn't affect your DPS at all, and you can still have healing power. So it is one of the only hybrid classes, DPS and healing classes, that is playable. You can play this, and you can be quite offensive with it too, because you can use things like your Mirror's Light to debuff target like enemies, make them take more damage, so it's good offensively as well. Yes, you lose, you don't have as much mobility because you don't have a third skill tree to pump up your mobility, so there's that. But it's still, as far as hybrid classes go, it's probably the only solid one available to play in the game. There is different versions of like hybrid archer healer classes, but Ranger is probably the best one. You can make things work with this, and I think it's a solid class, but obviously it doesn't compare to some of the big dick classes in terms of damage output. But if you want to be able to heal a little bit as well, Ranger, pretty solid class, not bad. Kronos Lols, thank you for the tier 1 sub, my man. I appreciate that. It means a lot. Let's see. We are down to the final fucking row. What do we got? Hex Ranger. What? That was an archer class again. What the fuck? Actually, no, we'll talk about Hexblade. Hexblade, yeah. Hexblade. Where do we put Hexblade? Honestly, I don't have a whole lot to say about Hexblade. I think it's just Hexwarden, but not as good. It's defense, right? It's like Witchcraft, instead of Oromancy, you use defense. Yeah, so it'll be very strong early on in Arcade Unchained when people don't have a whole lot of gear. I think it's a solid class. You can make it work late game, and yes, you can be quite useful in as far as... Actually, you know what? It deserves a B tier. I think it's basically you're trying to do the same thing as a Blood Reaver or a Hexwarden in open world, small scale PvP and things like that. You do have defense, so you can do things like imprisons and different juicy stuff like that. So it is, you know, it does have its place in large scale PvP, but I don't think it's as good as Hexwarden or Blood Reaver, so I think we'll leave it on a B tier. Let's see, what do we got? Shadowbane, this is a classic Bard class. I think it's, you know, not as good as Cleric. It is a good Bard class. We're going to put it in B tier as well. Same goes for Poxbane. Both very funny classes to play. Solid. If you're just straight up barding, these are really good. But for the most part, if you're barding, generally, you just take Vitalism anyway. Early on, these will be probably really good in very large scale PvP. If you want to be a dedicated bard, very good class. If you're playing a great club, it may be like Plate with like full spirit and something like that, and you want to just be bard, very solid classes. But for now, I'm going to put them in B, just because, yeah, you know. Okay, let's knock out the last 3 healer classes. What was Tomb Warden again? Can you guys remind me what Tomb Warden was? It is something with defense, right? So it's vitalism. I think it's vitalism, defense, and then like is it like occultism or some shit? No, that's Justicar. That's not a terrible class. Is it this? No, it's not that. Of course, it's not that. What the fuck, guys? Help me out. What the fuck is Tomb Warden again? Defense, Songcraft, Ornaments. Ah, it's another. Wait. Okay, it's another fucking bard. Yeah, of course. It doesn't even have vitalism. So yeah, goes straight along the thing with Shadowbane, Poxbane. I think they're solid bard classes. They're all pretty much the same, just different nuance and playstyle. Comes down to personal preference. If you like playing a bard, all of these three are perfectly acceptable. I think they're quite good. Just comes down. I haven't played a bard before, so it's hard for me to give a solid opinion on these. In large scale PvP, they have their application. Small scale, not so much, because you don't have like actual heals to back it up, and you need other healers. And obviously in 1 vs 1, it's, you know, you can't really do anything. Just use Arcade Codex. All the skills are in alphabetical order. Whatever. We're almost at the end, dude. For the most part, I've relied on my memory for all of this. There's like a couple that we forget. Necromancer, very good healing. Extremely good healing output. You can do some nice stuff. I don't think it's as good as Confessor, so I think we're going to put it in A. But solid playstyle. You know, you have some 8 CC to peel for yourself. You have some good healing output. Very good class. What the fuck is Doombringer again? Guys, help. Help with Doombringer. I don't want to get this wrong. Occultism. Has it got occultism? I can't fucking remember. Doombringer. What the fuck is Doombringer? Guys, help. Send help. What is a Doombringer? Occultism, Shadowplay, Vitalism. Okay, you know. This, yeah. This is a good fucking class. I always forget this. Doombringer and Blood Reaver, I always fucking forget the name. I love the classes, but I always forget the fucking name. Any video where I'm like, I want to mention Blood Reaver on the fly, I'm just like, fuck. I forget what the fucking class is. But yeah, Doombringer, straight up, double S. It's such a good class for healing output. Because if you get used to the playstyle, you have your Vitalism skill tree, obviously. You have Shadowplay, which is really good. You get your fucking, your free runner. So you can pop that and give out like massive fucking antithesis all the time because it doesn't go on cooldown. Especially if you use the free runner that gives movement speed to allies as well. Obviously, you're a healer. You want to be buffing people around you. Having that makes sense. That's really good. You also have backdrop, so you can backdrop and fucking and antithesis as well, which is really good. You can also backdrop and mend, very good. You also have pain harvest from occultism, very good for your fucking mend combo. It's such an amazing class for straight up healing output. I cannot like stress this enough. Very good class, very OP. And you can also stealth res, so it's just a solid class in pretty much any situation. I'd be happy to have a Doombringer on my team, especially if they're good at the class. Yeah, Doombringer is just really great. See, a lot of these classes left over I can't even remember. So these two I'll talk about last. Howler, straight up B class. I think it's, you know, you can make it work. It's a solid archer class, not as good as the rest. Same deal with Hex Ranger. Like, you can make them work in small scale. They're not the greatest. That, you know, other classes will do it better. We'll put them in B because they deserve that much. But, you know, I haven't played the classes, and I don't, honestly, guys, I can't give a very solid opinion on archers that I haven't played and I haven't versed. In theory, they're solid classes. I haven't versed anyone, at least I don't remember versing anyone as these classes, and I've never played the class myself, so I can't say for sure how good it is. I think they're okay classes on paper. I don't think they're as good as others, but you can make it work. Okay, now these were niche classes that you guys suggested. What the fuck is Requiem and Mindslaver? We'll do Mindslaver first. What's a Mindslaver? Guys, remind me. Mindslaver, this bad boy. What is it? What 3 skill trees? Help a brother out, guys. These are the ones we added last minute, so you guys... Malediction, Occultism, Oromancy? Is it? No. No, that's... Wait. No, that's Emissary. Emissary is Malediction, Occultism, Oromancy. Defense, Occultism, Malediction. Okay, yeah. That makes sense. We'll put... Yeah, straight up, that goes into B tier alongside... what do you call it? Fucking... What am I looking for? Pit Fighter, Swiftstone, Defiler, Demonologist, very similar playstyle. You just kind of, you have a bit of AoE to provide. You have AoE damage. You know, pretty good in small scale. Decent in 1v1. Not the greatest in large scale. Very good early on because defense, like I said, is going to be very strong early game. Come in Arcade Unchained because you just get a lot of flat stats from it. That'll be useful early on. But come late game, I don't think you'll see many people playing Minesweeper because you don't need defense to be tanky. You just need Oromancy, and that's it. And Requiem is Sorcery, Songcraft, Occultism. Yeah, that's a solid class too. I think that deserves a B as well. I think, again, has its applications in small scale. I think you can make it work in 1v1, like straight up in 1v1. You know, you have Occultism, that's just good in 1v1. Sorcery carries itself, but you don't have... You may have trouble with certain classes because you don't have stealth and things like that, and I haven't played it in 1v1, I haven't versed it in 1v1, so I can't say for sure how good it would be in ones. Come Arcade Unchained, I'll be playing Mage, I'll fuck with Requiem for a day and see how it feels, but I don't think, it's definitely not A or higher. I think B is a pretty respectable place to put it. Anything like C or above, in my opinion, guys, is playable. Like, it's, you know, you get away with playing it. The higher you get, obviously, the better it is, but it's whatever. Arcanist, again, another B class. I think it's a good class. Good. It's solid in 1v1, solid in small scale, falls off a bit in large scale, but again, it's the same deal as a lot of these classes in B here. Anything that Arcanist can do in different situations, generally another class can do it a bit better. So, although it's good, it's not terrible. I don't think it deserves any higher than a B, so we'll leave it there. Now, Dark Runner, we talked about this in my other video. Dark Runner, straight up, it's double S. Good in 1v1, good in small scale, good in large scale. It's just a great all-around class. Oromancy is very good defensively. It's also very good for mobility. And it's also very good in like small scale, large scale for Vicious Implosion. As a melee, you can use it on healers, even in a single... You know, if you're just trying to take down a single healer, you can use it to reduce their healing effectiveness. It's very good, very strong. Dark Runner is just a solid all-around class. I don't think I need to say too much about that. And I also did the exact same thing with Shadowblade in my tier list video. We put it in double S tier. Lots of great combos. Very good in 1v1. Very good in small scale. Very good in large scale. You have a ton of CC, ton of mobility, plenty of damage, lots of combos, and you have a lot of like useful skills like what's it called? Innovate. Innovate is so incredibly strong in pretty much every situation. It reduces healing effectiveness on the target for a small duration and increases trip duration. So if you're popping Innovate on a target in a raid or a small scale situation, you're going to trip them for longer, which means you can CC them for longer, deal more damage to them, and if they're getting heals, they're going to be getting way less healing. So, well guys, that has been me revisiting my tier list video. I hope you guys enjoyed. I'd be very surprised if many of you actually stuck around to the end. This is a extremely long video, obviously, because it's ripped mostly just straight from my Twitch channel. So, I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope it was a good addition to my original tier list video. And I'll leave a link in the description with the tier list template if you guys want to mess around with your friends and do some tier list stuff as well. But as always, guys, leave a like, leave a comment, and subscribe if you enjoyed the video. A huge shout out to my Patreon supporters, Tonberry, Kronos, Adam B, Tyler, and Navro. I really appreciate your support, guys. Same goes with all of you over on Twitch who have been supporting me over the last week with all this craziness. So, thank you guys. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you guys in the next video of whatever I make. Cheers.